Kids 5 to 11 play an important role in transmission of the virus.
Preparing to vaccinate Utah children against COVID-19.
It will help us get the pandemic under control.
New at 9, when the vaccine could arrive and what has to happen first.
Every intersection where we are, there's so many different issues.
A crossing guard in Kaysville has seen enough, why she thinks it's just a matter of time before something bad happens in this intersection.
The bulk of our rain and snow has moved into Colorado, but still that chance for rain remains tonight. Coming up, what you can expect for your morning drive tomorrow, and also a sneak peek at your Halloween forecast.
And with the recent string of wet weather, it's easy to forget Utah is in crisis.
We're actually in a fairly severe situation.
How a shrinking Lake Powell could stop hydroelectric power at the Glen Canyon Dam very soon.
Live from Utah's news leader, Fox 13 News at 9 starts right now.
The Food and Drug Administration's advisors are recommending Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine for children 5 to 11 years old. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Emily Tenser.
And I'm Bob Evans. It's a big step in this pandemic that could open the door to thousands of Utah children being able to get vaccinated. The FDA's Vaccine Advisory Committee says the benefits of giving children the shot are greater than the potential risks. Now there's just one final approval needed from the CDC, meaning young children could be rolling up their sleeves as early as this week.
Far from being spared from this harm of COVID-19, in the 5 to 11-year-old age range, there have been over 1.9 million infections, over 8,300 hospitalizations, about a third of which have required intensive care unit stays.
Some committee members did express concern about giving approval based on a few thousand study participants. The FDA is considering the advisory panel's recommendation. The CDC's advisors are meeting next week to determine whether they agree.
So tonight, health professionals in Utah are preparing for the children's vaccine to arrive in the state within the next 2 weeks.
Fox 13's Brian Schnee spoke with a specialist at University of Utah Health about how this vaccine could impact the spread of COVID-19 here.
The Utah Department of Health called the recommendation of emergency use authorization of Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine for children ages 5 to 11 a significant step in addressing the pandemic. With more than 100,000 doses being ordered and already on their way to Utah, it still has more hoops to get through before those shots can be given out.
Many of you heard the myth that is absolutely 100% false, that kids aren't severely affected by COVID. They are much less likely than older adults to die or be hospitalized, but they're pretty heavily affected.
With approximately 365,000 Utah children between the ages of 5 to 11 years old, doctors believe a vaccine becoming available to them could dramatically help slow the spread of COVID-19.
We know that kids 5 to 11 play an important role in transmission of the virus. There's a big benefit to children, as well as a benefit to the family, as well as a benefit to the community.
Dr. Andrew Pavia from the Division of Pediatric Infectious Diseases at University of Utah Health says there have been about 600 hospitalizations in 2021 for children in the state of Utah. He hopes the low-dose children's vaccine can play a big role in how schools approach the pandemic, too.
If vaccine works the way we want it to, and the rates of infection in our school-age kids start to drop, so that we're seeing a safer situation in the schools, that'll be the time when safety protocols can get relaxed.
Dr. Pavia recommends any unvaccinated family members get the vaccine along with their children. And while the Pfizer data shows roughly 91% efficacy against symptomatic prevention, there's always the chance to get infected.
If you are one of the people who has a breakthrough infection, you are infectious, you can transmit it to other people. That's probably going to be an issue for children as well.
It's anticipated that the CDC will finish deliberations on the vaccine by November 3rd. Pending a signature from the CDC director, vaccines could start shipping.
We can probably count on the vaccine being available the Monday, November 8th at most places that are doing vaccination. But I'd stay tuned. There'll be a lot of information coming out.
As of right now, the low-dose children's vaccine would be 2 doses, 21 days apart. It's unknown if children would require some sort of a booster down the road. If parents have questions about the vaccine and specifics on their child's situation, Dr. Pavia recommends those parents visit with their child's doctor, who has their medical records and history. Brian Schnee, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Health policy analysis organization Kaiser Family Foundation has been tracking public attitudes toward COVID-19 vaccinations. In their latest poll conducted in September, they found approximately 1/3 of 1,500 randomly selected parents or guardians living in the U.S. say they will vaccinate their child right away once it's available.
More than 67% of all Utahns eligible have now been fully vaccinated for COVID-19. This comes after more than 12,000 doses were administered around the state over the past day. Summit County has the highest percentage of people vaccinated, with 3 out of every 4 people fully vaccinated there. Meantime, Utah saw another 1,600 new cases of the virus since yesterday, with nearly 10% of those being children between the ages of 5 and 10. Nearly 40% of the 524 people hospitalized with COVID-19 in Utah are in the ICU, and 10 more Utahns have died, 6 men and 4 women. Tonight, a crossing guard in Kaysville is begging drivers to listen. She's sharing her story after far too many close calls.
Fox 13's John Franke takes us to the crossroads of the problem.
This is Megan Kelly's territory. She's out here every day.
I am here in the mornings and I'm here in the afternoon.
Making sure
Just don't go until I tell you to. Okay? I gotta see if there's people.
kids get safely to and from school.
I'm gonna go after this truck.
Megan is a crossing guard. With her feet on the ground,
Okay, you're good. I love these kids. CMX. I know them by names. I know their routines. I know what time they're gonna be crossing.
at the intersection of Boynton and Fairfield
Which way are we going?
in Kaysville.
Bye, guys.
Megan's out here at this crosswalk every day, and the kids that she helps cross the street are like her family. But what she sees every day is also concerning, and the problem isn't isolated to this intersection alone.
Slow down.
Moments like this
Slow down.
happen several times
Slow down.
before and after school.
Every intersection where we are, there's so many different issues.
From speeding
They're not slowing down to the 20-mile school zone. They're kind of flying through.
to distracted driving,
You'll see a lot of people that are doing makeup.
Megan sees it all,
There have been so many close calls,
and she wants it to stop.
and they went right through the intersection and nearly missed me.
There are 17 school zones just like this in Kaysville, too many to have an officer patrol each one.
And they are required, if they're not on a call, to be out at each school zone.
Kaysville police tell us they average about 80 crosswalk enforcement shifts per month with no leniency.
Every time a vehicle is stopped, a citation is written if it's in a school zone.
If the threat of a ticket won't get people to change their bad habits,
When our stop sign is up, it is the law. You cannot go through the crosswalk until we are fully across the crosswalk.
maybe these words will.
Well, these kids are just trying to get home from school.
For that reason alone,
We all just worry they're all going to get hit.
You're good.
Megan will stop at nothing to make sure drivers do.
I would feel awful if it was one of them that was hit. Peace out.
In Kaysville,
Guys.
John Franke, Fox 13 News, Utah.
That's a great story there. Well, we don't really have to worry about too much rain in the forecast for those kids walking to school. Now, we still have a little bit of a chance for some rain this evening, but that's mostly going to be up towards the Cache Valley. Right now, we have partly cloudy sky, Brigham City, Ogden, Salt Lake, Lehigh, down into Provo. Those temperatures right now in the 30s for Cedar City, Milford, and Delta, 40s for Ogden, Salt Lake, Provo, and tomorrow morning when you wake up here in Salt Lake City, close to 40 degrees. Coming up, our next chance for rain tonight, plus what you can expect for Halloween weekend, coming up later in the hour.
Tonight, we're learning more about the person who police say opened fire inside a mall in Boise.
Investigators say 27-year-old Jacob Burkiste of Boise opened fire, killing 2 people before police arrived. 26-year-old Joe Acker and 49-year-old Roberto Padilla Arguelles died in the attack. Burkiste was later wounded in a shootout with police. He later died.
We are all hurting. That's normal. It's to be expected. It's not something that we ever want to experience ourselves, but we need to acknowledge that, because it is in that acknowledgement that we can have the important actions and conversations to help us heal moving forward.
Police still don't know why he opened fire, but say he acted alone. A police officer was wounded during the shootout. He was treated and has been released.
A 14-year-old student in Elko County, Nevada, is behind bars tonight, accused of threatening to carry out a school shooting. Police received reports of a threat circulating on Snapchat yesterday afternoon, saying the attack was going to happen Friday morning. Last night, officers arrested the young girl who they believe was behind the social media post. She is being held on felony charges in the Elko County Juvenile Detention Center.
He gained notoriety for being shot while driving his truck through a group of Black Lives Matter demonstrators. Now he's running to be the mayor of Provo. Video from June 29th of last year shows the moments before Ken Dudley was shot in his truck. The video shows him driving his truck into a line of demonstrators, holding 8 minutes of silence to represent the time a police officer knelt on George Floyd's neck before his death. Today, our partners with the Salt Lake Tribune ran a story, including a campaign announcement video that Dudley made 11 weeks ago, citing the shooting as a catalyst for his campaign.
I believe government officials are servants of we the people. As mayor, I will put the taxpayer first.
Dudley officially began his campaign in June and was recently invited to the October Provo mayoral debate. 34-year-old Jesse Taggart will be in court November 16th in connection to the shooting in June of 2020. Dudley did not face any charges for driving his car into demonstrators.
New data shows Lake Powell could shrink to levels so low next year it would threaten hydroelectric power generation at Glen Canyon Dam.
Fox 13's Lauren Steinbrecher explains what can be done to keep lake levels stable during the drought.
We're actually in a fairly severe situation.
It is dire. It's unprecedented territory.
Electricity generation would stop.
July 2022. That's when Lake Powell could sink so low it goes below minimum power pool and jeopardizes power generation at Glen Canyon Dam, according to new projections released by the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation. It could be catastrophic, says David Tarbotton, Utah Water Research Lab Director at USU.
I think the economic ramifications of no longer generating power would probably carry a huge amount of weight.
The U.S. Bureau of Rec tells me it's possible they'd implement a drought response plan. Tarbotton explains it's like a bank account. Options include borrowing water from other reservoirs to deposit into Lake Powell to keep it from hitting critical levels, and controlling withdrawals from Lake Powell to farmers irrigating downstream in other states, which of course means less water for crops.
And looking like a bank account is a good thing. I mean, so a lot of the plans are made for which crops we irrigate, how much irrigation water is allocated, because farmers need to know whether to plant or not.
We are in discussions, even as late as today, with the Bureau of Reclamation to develop a plan that would be implemented depending on what the water year looks like next year.
Gene Shawcroft explained to me on the phone. He's the Utah Commissioner for the Upper Colorado River Commission. He pointed out, if we look at that bank account again, there is one more deposit option, snowpack, which the drought has dried up over the last 20 years. But if it's a good fall and winter like it has been so far, Shawcroft says it'll help the minimum power pool situation come summer tremendously.
Absolutely. It would make a big difference. We look at what's in the snowpack on April 1st, and that's really the time then that we get the best forecast based on what water's in the snow at that point.
Lauren Steinbrecher, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Yeah, so we are off to a good start so far. If we can just Keep it going, Allison.
It has been an impressive October, absolutely, the start of our water year, and we do have some more chances for rain, but mainly weak storms here across the region. Starting off with a gorgeous picture from sunset tonight. Scott Taylor always taking the best pictures. This is the Great Salt Lake, so beautiful evening. We saw some clearing after the storms. 47 degrees here in Salt Lake City right now with full visibility. Love to see that. Top weather headlines. We do have a chance for some light precipitation, valley rain and mountain snow as a weak system clips northern Utah through tomorrow. Weak disturbance. Then we're warming up. Sunshine does return later this week. And then by Halloween, storm chances with a question mark because we're tracking that possibility of if a system will impact northern Utah late in the day on Halloween on Sunday. But for satellite and radar this afternoon, the bulk of our system is now off to our east, impacting Kansas, Oklahoma, and down into Texas. Here across the Wasatch Front, Salt Lake City area, partly cloudy sky, Kearns, West Valley, Magna, North Salt Lake, Bountiful, Sandy, Draper, Bluffdale, Harriman, South Jordan. We've got partly cloudy sky up through Logan and Ogden, down into Provo and Lehigh. Those temperatures right now, what it feels like in Provo at 38 degrees, 43 for Logan, 46 for Ogden, 47 for Salt Lake City. When you wake up tomorrow morning, if you are lucky enough to wake up here in Salt Lake City, it'll be about 40 degrees with mostly cloudy sky. And we do have that chance for a few areas to be slick tomorrow morning, especially near the Cache Valley. But overnight temperatures will mostly be about 35 to 45 here across Utah, below freezing for Park Cities up in the mountains, certainly quite a bit cooler. And by tomorrow afternoon, those temperatures will be about 50 to 55. So a cool day tomorrow for your Wednesday, and then warming up Thursday into Friday. The chance for a few showers this evening into early tomorrow towards the Idaho border, so the Cache Valley area up towards Bear Lake. And what you can expect over the next couple of days is mostly just some nice weather eventually returning, but tomorrow will certainly be on the cooler side. Our chance of precipitation here in Salt Lake City over the next week will be mainly isolated into early next week. You'll see those highest chances for rain will be Monday night next week and Tuesday during the day. So keeping our eye on some changes, however, worth noting that it's not being ruled out for Halloween here across the Wasatch Front. But if you're trick-or-treating on Saturday night here in Salt Lake, those temperatures will be about 50 degrees with partly cloudy skies, so great weather. St. George in the 70s for your 7-day forecast. Halloween weekend, low 70s for trick-or-treating Saturday or Sunday night. Maybe an and instead of or. And for the Wasatch Front, we're close to 65 for Friday, Saturday, and then by Halloween, 57 degrees for a high here in Salt Lake City.
Thanks, Allison. Next on Fox 13 News, police departments all over are struggling to keep and hire new officers. But one city has a new idea effective immediately.
And for the first time ever, Utah's alcoholic beverage regulators went to a bar. We'll show you why the state agency decided to have a look around.
And if this rare October snowpack is calling to you, there's some things you should know before heading into Utah's backcountry. After the break. Ogden police officers are the latest to get a pay raise this year. It's an effort by the city council to retain officers.
The city council approved the $2.5 million budget increase after hearing a number of officers were considering leaving the department. An anonymous survey of Ogden police officers found 67 of them were considering or had already applied to work at another department.
From what we've found, didn't really want to leave Ogden. They love to work for Ogden and in this community, but it was just a matter of necessity.
The police department tells Fox 13 News those officers have now pulled their applications after getting the raise. Prior to the pay increase, Ogden paid $6 to $9 less per hour compared to the new average.
One of the most powerful people on Utah's Capitol Hill made a surprise resignation announcement today. House Majority Leader Francis Gibson says he's leaving his seat representing Mapleton effective November 8th. He served in the legislature since 2009, working on major projects like creating the Inland Port Authority and tax and data privacy bills. In a statement, Gibson says he wants to spend more time on his day job as the administrator of Intermountain Healthcare's Spanish Fork Hospital. He also wants to spend more time with his family, noting he's already missed important family events because of legislative demands.
Today, we got our first look at the maps that could become Utah's new political districts. After months of research, public opinion, and map drawing, the Independent Redistricting Committee showed off what they'd like to see become the state's new voting districts. The maps were created with input from the public, including an online map drawing program.
We have presented what we sometimes have referred to as the people's maps, because they have been informed by the public, by these thousands of comments that we've received, and the public hearings that we've had, and the engagement that has occurred.
The legislature will choose to either approve the proposed districts, reject them, or choose a completely different set of maps. This will happen next month, so the new districts could be in place for the 2022 election cycle. To see the proposed maps, go to fox13now.com.
For the first time in its history, the Utah Department of Alcoholic Beverage Control Commission visited a licensed bar establishment. They dropped into Cedar City's Instant Gratification Winery. Individual commissioners obviously have been in bars, but it's the first time the entire group that enforces alcohol policy in Utah has visited one.
I think it's so important for us to be better commissioners, to understand how our licensing and other decisions impact the businesses that are licensees or applicants.
As a liquor control state, the DABC controls the sale and supply of alcohol. The state also makes a lot of money off of it. This month, the agency reported a $20 million increase in sales from this same time last year. In the mountains, many backcountry skiers and boarders are getting an early start to the season with the rare October snowpack.
The parking lot at Brighton Ski Resort was unusually full today, filled with Utahns who share a love for the backcountry. If you do plan to get an early start on the season, check conditions before you head out.
It's all backcountry right now, so you've got to be prepared for your own self-rescue. Even a small avalanche that we trigger this time of year is going to reveal rocks and stumps and deadfall just underneath the shallow snowpack. So that could be an instant season ender.
Before you head up to the mountains, before the season starts, be sure to check with the resort to see what their uphill policy is. And for current avalanche conditions, go to fox13now.com. Still to come, we'll show you some very creative costumes made just for young patients at Shriners Hospital.
Coming up in sports, we'll hear from the Utah State Championship golf team that was honored by the governor. And the Jazz battle the Denver Nuggets tonight, a big early matchup. The highlights are on the way. The Utah Jazz played their third game of the season tonight at home against the Denver Nuggets. Great matchup with two of the top contenders in the West going head-to-head. This game went back and forth most of the night. 30 lead changes. Right after the opening tip, Donovan Mitchell, the steal. It's a breakaway on the other end. Says he wants to be a better defensive player this year. The Nuggets have the defending NBA MVP battling against the defensive player of the year, Rudy Gobert. Jokic scored all 24 in the first half. How about this spin play by Mitchell? Inside and scores. He finished with 22 points. The other guards played well. Mike Conley knocks down the open three. He had 15 points. Then Jordan Clarkson, big spark off the bench, knocks down 3 of his 19. Put the Jazz up 11 in the second quarter. Gobert had his third straight double-double, 23 points, 16 rebounds, gets the jam over Jokic. Then a big play here just before the half. Gobert and Jokic knocked knees. Jokic went down. He left the game in some pain, did not return in the second half. Third quarter, Bojan Bogdanovic drives right through the Denver defense, throws it down. He had 15 points. Then in the fourth quarter, got heated. Mitchell scores, but check out right under the basket. Hassan Whiteside and Jermichael Green start pushing and shoving. Both were ejected. The Jazz won at 122-110 to improve to 3-0. The Utah football team will retire the number 22 this Saturday during their game against UCLA in honor of Ty Jordan and Aaron Lowe, who both wore that number, tragically passed away over the last year. It'll be the first number retired in the history of the Utah football program. More than 6,400 young golfers competed in the Junior League PGA this season, and the team from Utah won the national championship on October 10th in Arizona. The 8-player team is the first one from Utah to ever qualify for the PGA Junior National Championship, and they won the whole thing. Governor Spencer Cox recognized the team at the Utah State Capitol today. Players are enjoying this ride of being national champs.
I think it's like the greatest thing ever because I've actually never been on any special teams like this one, and this is probably the greatest thing that's ever happened to me in my life.
I think it was just really fun to see the governor and meet him, and then just being here with all my friends. Being in the Capitol is just amazing.
It was so special. What an achievement. You know, competing with the powerhouses like California and Florida and Oklahoma, there were some amazing players there. What an achievement for these boys and for the team. And we're so proud to represent Utah, and an incredible, time to be here with the governor and have a little celebration here. It's amazing.
Yeah, cool to see him win it.
Isn't that great?
Greeted by the governor as champions.
They'll never forget this.
Cool.
Great experience. Yep. Thanks, Jeff. Well, some children are rolling into Halloween this year with some custom costumes. All this month, Shriners Hospital staff and volunteers have been creating custom costumes for 34 patients that incorporate their wheelchairs. The young patients can be whatever they want, and the designs are above and beyond any costume you'd find in a store. Some of their costumes and creations this year include King Kong in a skyscraper, there it is, Daniel Tiger in the trolley from Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, and a genie in a bottle.
And when your children hit the streets for trick-or-treating this weekend, what candy do they most want to see in their buckets? Well, research by CandyStore.com indicates Utah's favorite candy is the Tootsie Pop.
What?
Yeah, coming in second place, Jolly Ranchers. And third, the controversial candy corn.
I have some concerns with this list, Bob.
Do you? So do I. There's no chocolate on it.
No broccoli.
Debatable, for sure.
Broccoli.
A debatable list.
You can see the whole list for each state on our website, fox13now.com.
Thanks for staying up late with us for Fox 13 News at 9.
Modern Family is coming up next.